It's Captain Sandy, and welcome to Beyond the Docks. Here, we explore real-time maritime careers with people who live them. So let's get started.
Today we're spending the day with Harley Hunt, captain, content creator, and full-time marine pro of how-to boating. Harley's not your average captain. He's built a life on the water and a name online. Let's dive on how he turned both into a career.
What's going on, guys? This is Captain Harley here from How To Boating. I'm a boating instructor and I post a lot of content to help you drive your boat.
So Harley, did you think or know that this was a possible career when you were in high school?
As far as the boating instruction part, no, I didn't know that. And of course in high school, I didn't even know I would get into the boating industry. I wanted to do biology and marine biology. So as far as being a captain, I had no idea like what that entailed. So no, I didn't. I had no idea.
So what was your first job on a boat?
My first job was actually, I had two part-time jobs which equaled a full-time job. One of them was at Freedom Boat Club a long time ago in 2016. And I also work at a dry storage facility. So like, if I had any advice for someone getting into the industry, it would be like, you got to work from the ground up. You're not going to start driving a boat right away. So you got to get your foot in the door, get in the industry, learn a lot about it, and then, you know, build on top of that, build your skills.
What skills helped you the most? The hands-on, driving the boat, knowing how to tie a line, or the people skills, knowing how to communicate and talk to a guest?
For what I do, it goes hand in hand. I mean, as far as being an instructor, you have to know how to drive your boat and how to anticipate what the boat's going to do with certain, you know, movements and stuff, and also be able to transcribe it, be able to communicate that with people. So both of those are extremely important for what I do when it comes to instruction and boating. So I'd say they're both equally valuable. Absolutely. But you can't have one without the other to do this job.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to be able to anticipate, but you also have to be able to stay calm, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure that's a big part of it.
And one thing I like to tell people is, you know, what I teach is anticipation, how to anticipate, because you could get on a 15-foot boat and you turn to the left and the boat's going to immediately react, versus you get onto a 50-foot boat and the boat will react 15-20 seconds later. And then the biggest boat I've ran is 191 feet and the boat will respond a minute later. So it's all about anticipation and seeing into the future. So it just takes experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Experience,
definitely. So what is the hardest part of this lifestyle that people don't see?
Yeah, the part people see is all the great parts, like us being out here right now. But I think the hardest part is the business aspect and navigating your own business, what you need, that kind of stuff, and then finding your leads so you can keep the business going. So that's the hardest part. I've done well with social media enough to where I don't have to worry about leads because everything comes in organically, which is nice. But there was a point where I was struggling a lot with getting leads. So that's the biggest thing. That's the hardest part there.
Yeah. What advice would you have for someone who isn't sure if college is a good next step for them?
The college question. Yeah. So I did go to college. I have my master's in biology, but obviously I don't use it anymore. So I feel like you can do anything you want aside from being a lawyer or a doctor or whatever without going to college. So I could have been a lot further ahead than, you know, compared to where I am now if I didn't go to college, because I spent 6 years there. But I did learn a lot from college, and mainly the big takeaways from college was learning how to read, learning how to write, and learning how to speak to people and communicate, public speak. So there is a value to college. But I think when it comes to like the price tag on it, it probably, you know, you got to weigh your pros and cons when it comes there. But there's definitely a ton of avenues that you could go into in boating and be really, really good at boating and you know, it's make an impact.
Yeah, I think a lot of us who are in the marine industry have a very common answer to you is like, if I started sooner in the industry, I could be further along in my career, where my license is at, what I'm doing. If I didn't, but then there's that same aspect of it. Like, but I did gain some skills from it. But
1,000%.
It is absolutely. I've had that conversation with lots of people in the industry.
In a perfect, in a vacuum, you would think you're so far ahead, or you think you would be so far ahead. But I mean, college led me to where I am today because I learned along the way. And
absolutely.
They brought me here, so I don't regret anything. I mean, I loved my time at college, but this it's a lot more rewarding what I do.
Yeah. Well, I also think that, it probably wasn't ever, you weren't exposed to like, this could be a way to live a great life, have a great career, experience amazing things, make money, right? This was never something that was ever really advertised, so to speak, I think, when we were in high school,
Especially me being from middle Georgia. I'm from the country,
absolutely.
and I made a huge gamble, coming down here and working on the water, but man, there's nowhere I'd rather be.
Yeah, definitely.
That green marker right there, you see that yellow sticker on the top. Now, yellow in general in the maritime industry means special. So for this instance, that yellow sticker on the green marker, it's showing that that green marker is special. You know what that means is that that marker is an intracoastal waterway marker. And that intracoastal waterway runs from the northeast United States, so say New England area, all the way down around Florida, back up Florida, and to Texas. So all the marks that are running along that channel, the Intracoastal Waterway, will have a yellow sticker. On the green markers, they will typically have a yellow square sticker, and on the red markers, which there's one way over there, they'll have a yellow triangle sticker 99% of the time. Sometimes they're flipped in certain circumstances, but they're very rare. But for those, you'll also see with the numbers. So that is number 49. Green is always going to be odd. Red is always going to be even. And what they actually do is, if we're going south, those numbers will increase. If we're going, well, we're on the East Coast, so if we're going south on the East Coast, those numbers will increase until the next inlet. If we're going north, those numbers will decrease until the next inlet. So it gives us a good reference on how far it is until the next inlet. So if we were going that way, we have 49 markers to pass before we get to the next inlet, for instance, for example.
Now this is where things get interesting. Harley, he didn't just build a boating career, he built a brand, and a brand that has open doors. So what is the best part of your job?
The best part is being out on the water every day on a different boat, which is the coolest thing. And look, we're here in Miami, so like that view never gets old from the water. So that's definitely the best part. And you get to experience, especially with the social media stuff, you get to experience, a bunch of different places and travel and stuff. But the best part is being out on the water every day and also helping people too. My goal is to have an impact and make boating safer for everybody. So the impact and just the views we get is insane. Incredible.
No, it's great. You're at work right now, right?
I know. Yeah. My office.
Amazing,
is
right?
Pretty good.
Right here. Yeah, absolutely. So if somebody watching this video wanted to get started in the type of work that you do, training people how to be better boaters, safer boaters, and what would you tell them how to get started? What to do? What's the first step they should take?
I could talk about my route, and I definitely recommend my route, whereas you want to get in on the ground floor. You're not going to start off driving the boat, like I said earlier. So you got to get in on the ground floor, work up. You got to learn by being a dockhand or, somebody working on the dock, tying the lines, all of that stuff for other people. And then you get on, I recommend getting on in the commercial route, so commercial fishing or scuba diving or passenger vessels like a ferry or something. So you get a ton of experience on the water, and in particular, when you get to driving the boat, you get a ton of experience docking and docking and docking over and over again. And with that, you learn so much because you're out in every weather condition. Like if you got to go fishing, you got to go fishing. Like commercially, you got to go fishing because you're making a living, right? And your captain's making a living, so you got to be out there, rain or shine. So you get to experience all these different conditions. So the commercial stuff, I definitely recommend that because it puts you in every different circumstance as that there is.
Yeah. Did you ever think you'd end up working in the marine industry?
That was the goal, growing up. I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Yeah.
So, purely in its purest form, the definition of marine biology is marine industry, right? So I wanted to do that. I didn't stick in marine biology. I learned I wanted to be on the water more than what I was doing, because with marine biology, you're on the water about a fourth of the time you're working. Most of it's behind a computer. So I love being out on the water. So after learning about that, I just wanted to be on the water, on a boat, driving a boat, and make an impact helping people.
What's one piece of advice that you wish someone gave you when you were 16 about your career?
I think, when I was 16, I was a little more reserved and wasn't as outgoing as I am now. So I think, being outgoing and not really caring as much what other people think, is a big thing. But that just took time to learn. And another thing is you'll win if you don't quit. So the main thing is, like, in those low points of business, at least, what I think about is just you'll win as long as you don't quit. So that's the saying I have in my head over and over again. So I wish they would have told me that before.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I frame life.
Do you need any specific license to do the work that you're doing?
The license that I have now is a 100-ton master's captain's license. I also have a sailing endorsement for if I were to work on sailboats, and a radio operator permit. Yeah. That's all I have. I mean, that's really all you need to work in the passenger vessel, commercial vessel industry. When you get into the private yachting, that industry, then you need SCCW, and that just, like, so much more on top of that. Yeah. So for me, I've kind of got by with what I needed and made a great life out of that, because SCCW plus all of those other certifications, you spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Up to the captains that I talked to have invested $100,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars in their education, which is great. But starting out, you don't need all of that stuff. You just get your sea time, get your captain's license, get the basic licenses you need, and then get out on the water.
Absolutely. If you're a student wondering what's next, the marine industry might be calling your name, and Harley just showed you the map.